All right, sorry those of you in video land, I didn't have my microphone on. So we have downloaded this file, charts.ribbon.xlsm. We have put it into its own folder, and we're gonna take a look at it. Now, prior to 2007, the file format for Microsoft Excel was proprietary format. Microsoft said, you know what, this is our format. We're not gonna tell you anything about it, and if you wanna get in there and reverse engineer it, we're not gonna give you any help. In 2007, and in fact, the file format really got kind of cumbersome. It was pretty simple when they first made it because you're just basically storing data. Then we had to store macros. In 1995, they introduced macros to it, so they had to store macros in there. And then, you know what? Oh, wow, we've got this kind of solver information about the solver. How are we going to store that in the workbook? And it really kind of got cumbersome. So in 2007, they said, we're going to wipe the slate clean and we're going to start again. And they made a format called OOXML. I don't know what the OO stands for. But to the surprise of the whole world, they published the specification. They said, this is the structure of Excel workbooks. And if you want to kind of get in them and manipulate them for whatever you're doing outside of Excel, they said, that's great. We're gonna anticipate that you're going to do that. And so the format now, beginning with 2007 going forward, is actually a zip archive of a bunch of other files. This is a really weird thing to say. So I want to make sure you get it because it's critical to grasp this for what we're doing for the rest of the examples here. Is that this file right here is really a zip file. And the files you need to manipulate are inside of it. So I'm going to rename this file. You can do this along with me, but you don't need to do this along with me to be able to follow the example today. You might just sit back and watch, would be fine. I'm going to change this from XLSM to ZIP. That's a really weird thing to do. Just change the extension. It's so weird that when I do it, it says, oh, yeah, you're going to be ruining this file. That's right, I know what I'm doing. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Now, typically, you can't just change a any file into, say, .zip and have it mean anything. But because that's really what it is, now that I've changed it to .zip, then Windows, when I double-click it, Windows will go, oh, this is archive, I'll open it up. Not as an Excel workbook, but just look at the files that are in it. So what I'm going to do, maybe instead of that, I'll right-click it and choose Extract All. And I'll just accept all of the defaults here. Okay, so it has actually now made a folder called Charts Ribbon. And inside of that, and it's opened that up, here's what it is. And so this workbook, this is a workbook that we built earlier this semester. You remember when we had the census data and we built the charts to actually make charts to kind of chart different counties, looking at different counties. That's what this one is. So I'm going to come in here. There's a folder called XL. I'm going to open that up. And there's a folder in here called Worksheets. I'm going to look at the worksheets. These are all those sheets. I forget what they were. Maybe sheet one. I don't know what sheet. Let's look. Maybe sheet one is the one that has our data on it. I'm going to open that up. And it's like the default editor for XML here happens to be Internet Explorer. That's fine. We're just going to look at it. And so this is kind of all the information here. Look, here's sheet data. Here's row 1. Here's A1. That is the value in A1. If I was opening this like in just like even TextPad or Notepad, I could change that value right there, save the file, re-zip up that archive, turn it back into an .xlsx file or XLSM file, and I would have edited the data in the Excel file. This is the way the data are stored in Excel. So that's what we're dealing with here. But if we go up higher as a sister folder to Excel, this workbook has a small ribbon customization on it. If it didn't have any ribbon customization, this folder wouldn't even be here. But because it's ribbon customization, we can go into this folder. And here is this is the customization right here. So and all this does is it says, make the help tab invisible. So it's saying, listen, here we've got the custom UI, the ribbon. We're talking about the set of tabs in the ribbon. And there's a particular tab that has an ID of help tab, and we're changing the visible property to false. So when this workbook opens, the help tab is just gone. That's what we're going to do other more interesting things with that customization, but that's what we do now. In 2007, when we first started this, these were like the instructions from Microsoft. It was actually extract this file, unzip it, go and create a folder called custom UI. inside that folder, make one called custom UI XML. It wasn't 14, that's the 2010 and forward version. But it was a different thing here. And type in, this XML. It was hideous. And you make one little mistake in here, and it just doesn't work. Just nothing. So, but this is what we have to do. Functionally, what we have to do is we have to actually get in, create these folders, create these files, and put the information here in XML. Fortunately, someone made a tool to do it. So we don't actually have to unzip by hand and rezip and go create files. Someone gave us a tool to do it. And the guys who made it originally in 2000, they might have started in 2007. I never found it until 2008 or so. They like abandoned the project. It just kind of got old, and until recently we couldn't use it at all. But someone else picked it up and they kind of took it forward. So that's good news. So we're going to install that now. Actually, we're not going to install it because I can't install on this computer. You could install, but you just need the executable file. You don't really need to have this piece of software installed. I'm going to go ahead and close all these other files we had open. And we're going to come right here to the ribbon editor, and we'll follow that link to the ribbon editor. And so here's just a public project on GitHub. GitHub is a place where people share code. Make a project, put it out there, and it's free to host code to be shared. Microsoft owns GitHub, but there's no connection between this project and Microsoft other than the hoster happens to be Microsoft. And you'll notice that Fernandrew updated this 18 days ago. So kind of like actively kind of keeping it up to date. That's great. How to install, how to use. I'm going to download this one. So if it's a .msi, it's going to try to install. I don't have permissions to install on this computer. But this one is, it's just the executable file in a zip file. So I'm going to download this one. It's not huge, less than 5 megabytes. I may even just go ahead and put it in that same folder. It doesn't have to be there, it just has to be somewhere that I can execute it. I'll come to my ribbon and I'll put it here. I'll open that and extract it. Actually, probably what I'll do is just drag it out of the archive. I don't know if you knew this, but you can just drag things out of a zip archive and it'll extract them. I'm going to come back to my ribbon location. I'm just going to drag this from inside the archive to my ribbon folder. And now I have this Office ribbon X editor.exe.
We're okay to just install it.
If you want to install it, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and I don't discourage you from installing. I just can't. I can't show you installing it because I don't have permissions to install on this machine. And once I've got the executable file out, I don't even need the thing I downloaded anymore. So this is then a little program that hopefully will run for you. If not, it's because we need to do a little more installation of like the Microsoft runtime library. So let's just see if we can get this open. And if it doesn't open for you, let's spend a couple minutes trying to get it to open. We'll see if it opens for me. I think it will. Yeah, more info, run anyway. There's the program that we're trying to get to. Okay, so let's go ahead and pause right here and just make sure we all get here. Okay, so what this program is going to do, it's going to do what we just did by hand. It's going to extract the file, and it's going to present the information to us, allow us to change those files, and then it's going to zip it back up. So this is not going to be like a graphic experience of changes. We're still going to work with the XML, but we don't have to worry about extracting and recompressing to get this stuff to work. All right, so I don't have Excel open right now. It's okay to have Excel open, but I don't want to have that workbook open because I'm about to take that file and extract it. So I don't want it open in Excel while it's happening. It would let me do it, but I don't want that to happen. So I've got Excel closed, or at least the workbook closed, and I'll just choose open, and I'll browse and find that Excel workbook. So I'm going to come to my downloads. I'm going to go into ribbon, and I need to change the name back. It's still a zip file, so it's not finding it. So let me go back and rename that file. So instead of zip, I'm renaming it to .xlsm. Yes, I'm sure I want to change it. Okay, so now the ribbon editor should find that because it's looking for Excel files. So now it finds charts ribbon.xlsm. and it has opened the file, and it's showing me that ribbon customization, right? That file that we kind of went and snooped around and found, it knows, yeah, that's the main thing that we're here for, is for that file. So in one sense, we've opened the Excel file, but we don't see any cells, we don't see any ranges, we can't change the data. This is just about modifying the ribbon. Question?
If we had pulled out like a different file that didn't have any customization currently, would it create that?
Good question. So the question is, what if there wasn't any customization? Let me show you what that would look like. I'm just going to copy this because I want to bring it back. And then I'm going to right-click this and remove it. Can't be undone. That's fine. This is what it would look like. There's just no customization there. And so I could then choose Insert and say I want to insert. Now I can either do a 2007 or 2010 part. I'm going to choose 2010 because they started in 2007 and they added some features in 2010. So unless you've got people that are using 2007, you don't want to use the 2007 version. By the way, if you put a 2010 plus customization, oh, it didn't copy. If you put a 2010 customization on, it just won't be visible to 2007. But anyone 2010 forward, so I think for most uses, you can ignore the 2007 version. It would do everything that we're going to do today just fine. Okay, so, but unfortunately, when I tried to copy that, it didn't copy, so let me just go copy it to bring it back. Oh, you know what? I hadn't double-clicked it. It probably was copied. I had to double-click it to be able to start editing this, and then I can paste that back in. And of course, as it copied from Internet Explorer, I kind of lost my formatting. So ribbon should be in a bit. And I don't know if I can zoom in. Oh, I can. Look at that. Yeah, this is, whoever picked this project up and is working on it, they're doing a great job. Didn't used to be able to zoom in. Used to be a lot more clunky than it is now. Okay, let me cut this and see if I can paste it back in. Yeah, okay, so I've got it. All right, so, but if I was starting from scratch, and this, I do want you to do this along with me. So I am going to copy off just this one tab part right here. I'll cut it just so I can see that I know that I got it. And I'm going to go ahead and do it as if we were starting from scratch. I'm going to choose Insert, Custom UI, 2010 Custom UI part. It's going to say, oh, let's see. Maybe I need to delete this one first. I'll right-click and remove this one. That's okay. What's that? Anyway, I'm going to insert 2010. Then I'm going to insert, they have some examples here, Excel, a custom tab. So this will kind of get us, it'll replace what you have, that's fine. So this is just giving us an example here. And I'm going to come right inside of tabs and paste in my other one. The truth is, we don't need to have this as part of the example that we're doing, but I just want to have this in here so you can see it's possible to hide existing tabs in addition to adding new tabs, which is what this example really does. Yeah, go through that again. I did that kind of quickly. So yeah, let's do it again. So what I did was I said, I deleted this one. I'll do it again. Remove this, that's fine. I'll select my workbook here and then say Insert the 2010 part. And then I will insert sample XML custom tab. Excel, a custom tab is the example here. It's going to replace what I have there, that's fine. And then just inside of tabs, I'm pasting the part that we copied before. And again, if we don't get that part in, it's okay. Just for this example, I just want to kind of have this, the ability to see that we're taking a tab off. Okay, everyone who's trying to work along with me, anyone need help getting here? Or we're good? We're good? Okay, so let's look at what this example does. So here, anytime we're looking at, there's kind of two different kinds of IDs in these files. One, we'll say ID MSO. That either stands for Microsoft Object or Microsoft Office. I'm not sure which one it stands for. But this is going to be identifying something that is already existing in Microsoft somewhere. And so we are identifying an existing tab, and we're just setting the visibility to false. So ID MSO says we're referencing an existing object. If it just says ID, this says, oh, we're making a new one. And so this says we're making a new tab. It says we're giving it a label of Contoso, which is a fictional company that Microsoft invented for examples. Instead, I'm going to call this tools. Or maybe I'll call it chart tools. Now, I can insert it after an existing tab, or if I don't specify where to insert it, it will go at the very end of my tabs. That's where I want it to go. And just show all the way at the right. Okay, so that tab corresponds to this slash tab. Okay, so XML actually has two kinds of tags. It has those that are, kind of grouping tags, starts with something, ends with something else. You got something inside of it. Then you've got some that are just stand by themselves. We'll see those here in just a minute. So now on this brand new tab, and we have to give it a unique ID. Custom tab is fine. There's nothing else called custom tab. We're then going to say, listen, I want to bring in an existing group. How do I know it's existing? ID MSO. It's identifying an existing group. Where do you find out all these identifiers of what those existing groups are called? At Ron DeBruin's website. So that site, what I told you, was great documentation for doing ribbons. The stuff is laid out there. And so this tab is going to bring in an existing group. The clipboard group, right? You're in Excel. The clipboard is the very first one on the home tab. It's going to say, yeah, I love that group. I want that group on my tab too. So one of the things you could do is you could say, I want to build a tab that kind of brings in all of my tools that I like to have in one place, put them there. The only thing I ever go to data for is sorting data. So make a new tab and just put the sorting group on it. You can do that. And so it's also bringing in the font. I'll leave those two there, but you can see it's also bringing in some others, existing ones down here. I'm going to get rid of these. I don't need these. So we're bringing in two existing groups, and now you can see we're making a new group because it has an ID. Oh, by the way, these don't have closing group tags because we're not putting anything in them. And so instead of starting with group and ending with slash group, it starts with group, and in the same tag, here's the open angle tag, here's the angle bracket, here's the closed angle bracket. It puts the slash there, which says, don't be looking for a closed group tag. This is all by itself. It's a unary tag. Question? Okay, so the question here is, we had a guest speaker in class who showed us some tools that he had developed. And the question is, when we make a modification to the ribbon, under what conditions does that modification show? Now, what we're doing right here is making a modification to the ribbon that's going to follow this workbook. So wherever this workbook goes, it'll change the ribbon for this. The user opens it. When this is the active workbook, this is how the ribbon is. If they have two workbooks open, they click on a different workbook, it'll go to however that one has the ribbon configured. Can you configure your instance of Excel to have a custom ribbon? And the answer is yes. I'll show that to you. I'll point you in the direction. We won't do it, but I will show you where that happens. It's really easy. And that is a graphical experience. But that is changing only your instance of Excel. This is saying, I want something to go along with this workbook. So when I hand this workbook to my associate, he gets the same tools, or he or she gets the same tools in the ribbon. Okay, so we're making a new group. We have to give it an ID. Great. We had a custom tab, a different one called custom group. That's fine. And now, instead of Contoso tools, let's see, we called the whole thing chart tools. I'll call this census. C-E-N-S-U-S. Might have been better to call this census tools and this just charts. I'm not sure. But the point is, whatever label we put, that's what's going to show up in the group. You know, those groups have a little name at the bottom. That's the name of the group it's going to be. Now we've got buttons here. We've got 3 buttons: custom button 1, custom button 2, custom button 3. Those are great IDs. They'll be just fine. The label is what we're going to see. So let's do this. Let's make one called clear charts. One called clear or reset data. And then one called make chart. Labels, the buttons on the ribbon can be of 2 sizes. They can either be large or, one might think small was the one that goes along with that. What's that? Large and larger. No, it's large and normal. So I'll leave all 3 of these as large, but large and normal are your options here. Now, action is the name of a VBA subprocedure that you want to execute when the user clicks on the button. And so now what I like to do when I'm making, or anytime I've got a ribbon, I like to say, I want everything that I'm going to do that interacts with the ribbon in its own module. And, you know, I want to be really clear for me that this is it's here to respond to a ribbon. And so this is just my own thing, but I always prefix these with X, and then I give them a name that matches the label. So clear charts. Why X? This is actually called, we're modifying the ribbon, but the specification here is called ribbon X. I don't know who thought of ribbon X, but that's what it's called. So, and this will just help me to kind of keep track between what my buttons say on them and what the names of the procedures are that they're calling. So I'll call this one X reset data. And this one will be X make chart. Now we have some options for the image that we want to show here. There are 2 options. One, there's lots, hundreds, maybe thousands, more than 1,000 built-in images that we can pick from. Or we can make our own and bring our own image in. And let me show you how to get the real ones. It turns out getting the names of the ribbons, getting the names of the images is a little bit difficult. So one day I made like a Google photo album that had pictures of all the ribbons with their names. So that should be image names. We've got this link called image names here in Learning Suite. And that is just going to take you to an album that I made public. They're huge. So these they're kind of pixelated, they're probably the smaller versions. So some of them are big and some of them are small, but I'm just going to look through here. Maybe I'll zoom out just a bit. And see, what do we have? Oh, we're clearing the data. So I wonder what it looks like clearing a chart. There's probably something really good. Zoom out a little bit more. Since Excel works with charts, no, oh, here's chart. That's a chart looking thing. I'll take this one. That just looks like I'm making a chart. There's probably a better one if I look a little longer, but there really are close to 1,000 or more than 1,000. So I'm just going to click on that. Oh, it's tiny. But it should, maybe. I should be able to get the information on it. How do I get to the information? More options. I need to find its name. Ah, thank you. So this is called auto fade out time.png, and that is the identifier of this button. So I'm going to copy that file name, and I'm going to use that where I'm making a chart. That is what I'm going to put as the image MSO name. I got to find something that looks like I'm resetting data. Question? No? There's some X's. That looks like I'm deleting something. I don't know what I'm deleting, but I'll choose that one. Zoom back in. Cancel invitation is what Microsoft calls that image. And that is resetting the data. And the truth is, folks, you can pick any of these. And it seems like there must be some more on charts. Oh, here's charts. Anything look like deleting a chart? Refreshing a chart? Yeah, I don't know. I guess this one will be deleting my chart. And, you know, I could spend a little more time, or I could kind of make my own graphic, and I'll show you how to do that as well. But let's get these going. So I'll click on that one, zoom back in. Chart grid lines is what that one is. And if you want to just type these in, you can, but you've got to get them exactly right, including case, for it to be recognized. And that should do what I want in terms of, it'll give me a new tab with a single group on it with 3 buttons. And it'll have 2 existing groups, and then it'll have my newly created group here. Yes? Question is, how do you make a comment in XML? I don't remember. You can just Google it. I'm pretty sure you can. I don't remember how to do it. Okay. Now, as it turns out, we now need to have 3 VBA subprocedures ready to respond to this. But here's the unexpected thing. And that is that when the ribbon calls the function that you specify or the subprocedure you specify, it's going to pass a parameter to it. It's going to pass a reference to the button that you clicked on. And so you have to be prepared to receive that reference. You may not do anything with it, but you've got to be able to receive it. Good news is, over here, whoever made this tool said, you know what? We can look at this XML. I'm actually going to click here on validate first. That'll check over my XML, make sure it's well formed. It says I'm well formed. If you've got an error that says it's not, hopefully it gives you some direction. And then I'm going to click on generate callbacks, and it will write the VBA that I need just to be able to get going. So it used the names of the methods or the names of the procedures I created, and it has prepared me to receive the object that's going to be passed to the function when it's called. And so I'm going to copy that because I'll need to bring that into my Excel workbook. And I think that's what I want to do. I'll click on save. And I'm going to close it. File close. File close current document. Now I'm going to go and open up that workbook again. So here it is, ribbon, charts ribbon.xlsm. That should have that ribbon customization built into it. We'll enable editing. And here is the chart tools ribbon tab that we just created. It has those 2 existing groups here, and then here is the 3 buttons that we just created. Now, if I try to click these right now, it'll say, look, I'm trying to run something called xreset data. I couldn't find it. Where is that? It's on my clipboard right now. So I need to go put it in the VBA. So I'm going to insert a new module. I'm going to name this module. You can leave it that, but I'd like to see it as mod_ribbonx. And I will paste those 3 things in here. Now it won't complain when I click the button, but it still won't do anything. But I think I should be, without too much trouble, to find out what the names of these are. I don't remember what module we wrote this in, so look at module 1. Nope, let's look at module 2. Yeah, so we have clear data, make chart, and delete charts. We'll go back to this. Reset data is actually calling a subprocedure called clear data. Make chart is calling make chart. And then clear charts is calling, forgot. Clear charts is called delete charts. Make chart, I think it should have capitalized if I got that right. Let me check it again. Oh no, it is not in camel case when I originally created it. Okay, so now that I have put in those subprocedures and made them actually call some of my real subprocedures that do the work, I should be able to come here and clear the charts, reset the data, and make a chart. Kind of a bad chart. Oh, it's because I reset the data. There's no data. How do I get data? Let's clear the charts again. I pick it from here. So there's Powhatan, Scott, and Alexandria. Now I can make a chart, and it'll make a chart for that one. Whew. That's the ribbon modification. And this is the ribbon modification that follows this workbook, right? You send this workbook to someone else, that ribbon will be there. Questions?
Where did you pull the folder that you copy-pasted the subprocedures from?
The question is, where did I find those subprocedures when I copied them? And the answer is, it's a tab here in the ribbon. So right here, generate callbacks. That will look at the XML that you've defined and it'll say, oh, here you're trying to call these procedures. We know what the VBA looks like to make those happen. Question? So the question is, where did I put these callback procedures? I copied these, and then in my workbook, I created a new module called ribbon, and I named it ribbon X. I just pasted them in here. And so these are the procedures that the ribbon is going to try to invoke. And we are going to just call the subprocedure that we want to from that. Could I have just told in the ribbon X document, the XML, could I have just told it, call delete charts instead? The answer is yes, except delete charts is not expecting to have a parameter passed to it. And without this parameter, it'll cause an error. So I think it's cleaner just to say, you know what, just give yourself a module that just reacts with the ribbon, and that one will connect into your regular code. Incidentally, let me go ahead and do a debug.print of the control. This is what's getting passed in. Dot, there's not a whole lot to choose from. Let me just say dot ID. Remember, we created those IDs for all these buttons. Custom button 1, custom button 2, custom button 3. So let me now click what if that is on. That's on clear charts. So I'll hit clear charts, and it has printed that ID. So it's custom button 1 for this one, custom button 2 for this one, custom button 3. But what I could do, and in fact, the example in the textbook does this, I could just write one handler that all of my buttons call, and then decide what to do based on what the ID is. You look at it and say, oh, I'm handling all my buttons here, but you're custom button 1, go off and do this. And if you do that, you probably should give more meaningful IDs than custom button 1, custom button 2, custom button 3. But to be valid, they just have to be different. Doesn't really matter what they are. Like a case, yeah. The question is, in the book, how does it do? You haven't read the book in preparation for today's class? Yeah. So a case statement, right? So select case, control.id, and then you just have the individual cases that you want to respond to. Okay, so to answer the question that came up earlier, what if I wanted to make a ribbon modification that sticks with my instance of Excel? These tools are always up regardless of the workbook that's up. And here's how we do that. File, options, and then customize ribbon. And then here's your experience. You just uncheck the ones you don't want to show. You can add a new tab here. You can bring over groups. I think the very bottom one here, somewhere, macros. So you can list the macro and say, oh, I want to run this macro. You can drag that one over here to the ribbon. So those will just always be available in your copy of Excel. So if you've done some tools that you just want to have available, you can do it there. Questions on that? And the truth is, I've never done more than what I just showed you there, so I couldn't really give you much more information except, kind of play around with it and, drag your things around. Now, is there anything between those two to where I could say, well, I want this to be available, but I don't want to have to go and configure that person's workbook? And the answer is yes. To do that, I'm going to create an Excel add-in. Have you used one before? Yeah, if you've ever used the solver, you've used an add-in. If you've ever used the data analysis toolkit, you've used an add-in. Add-ins can be written in several different environments. We can write an add-in in VBA. So that's good. We can write an add-in in like C++ or C# at least. And so, but as long as it's conforming to the COM standard, the component object model standard, we can do it there. Microsoft has recently introduced, and when I say recently, I mean they started in 2013, but it really didn't become viable until about 2016, a way to write add-ins in JavaScript. In fact, if you go to Insert Add-ins and say Get Add-ins, you'll come to the store. This is Microsoft's kind of new platform for making add-ins. These are all written in JavaScript. In fact, this version of Excel is not able to see it, but the grader that we've been using for this class, I've written an add-in to do the grading that way. So if you search for My Educator, you should see an add-in there. It's not configured for this class yet, but there's a path for you to write an add-in and put it into the store. What does it cost to put an add-in into the store? Blood, sweat, and tears. It doesn't cost any money, but Microsoft's going to look over your add-in, approve it, and if they don't like the spacing, they'll tell you, fix that, and they're pretty picky about what gets in. Okay, but let's see how to make an add-in with what we have done already. Ready? So what I'd like to do, this one doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the compare sheet, all this data has to be here, but let's just turn our current project into an add-in. And so here's how we do it. So I've got my chart tools is here, and if I close this workbook, that chart tools will go away. Here's proof. Keep yours open. I'm closing it. I'm going to save it, save. Control N, a new workbook. That's gone. It will come back as soon as we reopen Charts ribbon, and when it's active, there's chart tools. But when this one's active, right, it's not there. It's only attached to this workbook. All right, here's how we make an add-in. File, save as. I'm going to put this in my same ribbon file, but instead of being a macro-enabled workbook, I am going to be an Excel add-in. Oh. Not a 2003 add-in, this one. Excel add-in, an XLAM. And save. I just made an add-in. That was so easy. Now you'll notice that when I look up here, I just did a save as XLAM. What's the name of this file up here? Can you see it? It's still XLSM. So what I just did was I exported a version of this workbook as an add-in, right? It's something like working in a Word document and saying, you know what, I want to save this as a PDF or print as a PDF. It's an export procedure, even though it's using the save as language. So this is still that. In fact, it might be good to close this now. If it prompts you to save it, you need to save it, because when you said save as XLSM, you didn't, or save as an add-in, you didn't save your own work. So we need to kind of close it and save it. But now I should be able to see that XLAM. Did I put it here? What's that? No, it might have put it in the default place when I wasn't looking. Although I thought I chose the place to put it. Yeah, okay, so It went into the normal place that Excel looks for add-ins. So let's go see if we can find it. If we can, great. If not, we'll save it in a place that we're sure that we can go and find it. Yeah, that's what we're doing next. Yeah, we're gonna install the add-in now. So I'm choosing File, Options, and I'm gonna come to Add-ins right here. So over here on the left, in this kind of menu, it says Add-ins. And that should open up something down here that allows me to manage Excel add-ins. So I'll hit the Go button down here. And Charts ribbon is right there. Now, if I had saved it where I meant to save it, I'd have to browse and go look for it. But I'll say OK. And that now has brought in that tab. What about are the worksheets there? I can't remember. I think they might be and just hidden. Like they're there but not accessible. You can't ever show them, but you can use them in whatever you're doing in your add-in. Yeah, so I really think if I try to make a chart, it's going to fail because it's really not built for this. Yeah, you're not able to get to it. So, but my VBA is there. The ribbon is there, and if I don't have my project isn't open. This is an empty workbook. Then I'm able to bring that in. So you've got the code, but you've got to write it in such a way that it will work, for the general situation. So that's making an add-in. It's almost absurdly easy once you've got the VBA project written. So I guess the one last thing that I want to cover then is how to bring in kind of your own image into the ribbon. So let's go ahead and just go through that process. First, I'm going to find an image that I want to use. And so to do that, I'm just going to come to Google. Maybe I'll go to Icon Finder. iconfinder.com. Search for an icon. How about delete? And I only want ones that are free. So here's some free icons that I'm allowed to use. And I'm trying to remember the size. I think it's an odd size. I think it's 40 pixels by 40 pixels is what I want. But the truth is, I think any of these would work. Was it 32? And do I have a size limitation here? Filter, show more styles. See, oh, here we go, size. Let's try 32, 32. Great, there's a red X. I'm going to save this as a PNG. I'll put it in my ribbon, that's fine. I'm going to call it something a little simpler than that long name. I'm just going to call it delete.png. So I found some icon, called it a simple name, .png, and now I'm ready to bring that into my Excel workbook. So I am going to close my workbook. I guess it's closed already. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to uninstall my add-in because I don't want to be conflicting. Back to add-ins, manage, uncheck that one. So I've gotten rid of that add-in. I don't have the workbook open, so I should be able to open it. Oh, there's a problem. I already had a copy of it open in my ribbon editor. Does this have all of my changes in it? It doesn't, because this was open at the same time I was editing in Excel. If I made the changes and saved it now, I would write right over the top of my other workbook. So I'm going to close this and reopen it. So File, Close. And then I will open Charts Ribbon again. Now I am going to insert that image. I'm going to, now remember, the Excel workbook is it's a document archive. It's a zip archive of a bunch of files. And so I'm going to put that image file into the archive itself. I don't have to worry about where the image is. It'll be inside the workbook, which sounds strange. It's nowhere you can see it. It's just a part of that zip file. So I'm going to insert icons, and I'm going to go find that icon, delete.png. it then shows I've got the delete icon here. So now all I have to do for my clear charts is change this from image MSO to just say image, and then whatever name shows here is how I refer to it. So the image is going to be delete. So I find the image that I want to use, I save it. I like to give it a simple name so that I can see it there easily, but the truth is you can rename it here, right? You can change the ID. So after it's imported, you can rename it. No, it doesn't need to be anywhere, because you're going to choose, the question is, does that be in the same folder? And the answer is no, it can be anywhere, because you're going to choose insert icons from the menu. Am I editing that? Insert icons, and I'm going to go find it. And then once I've inserted the icon here, I can delete it off my disk. I mean, it's still on the disk, but it's a part of the archive, but the file I downloaded, I won't need anymore because it's brought a copy of it in. I changed the from image MSO just to say image, and then I gave it the ID that shows up here. I will save this and close it. And then open that file again in Excel. Enable macros, chart tools. Oh. I might need to close my Excel after I uninstalled that add-in. That looks pretty good though to me. Let me try that again. Should see that red X. I'm opening Excel again. There's chart tools. I still have the old one. Got to make sure that I'm actually dealing with the same file in both places. This is coming downloads ribbon. I'm going to go ahead and open it and just check the XML. But usually if you have an error in the XML, it will not show anything. Validate, looks okay. So that's the one I expected it to be. Close this one. File open. Oh, that's my XLAM. Here's the XLSM in ribbon. There. I opened the add-in instead of opening the original file. So now I've got the image the custom image that I put in. So you've got 1,000 or so icons you can choose from that are pre-built. But chances of you finding just the one you want are pretty slim. If you're creative, you can create your own. This has to be a PNG file, or I think it can be a JPG and maybe even a GIF, a GIF. It takes a few different formats. And as long as it's the right size, it'll look great. If it's the wrong size, it'll scale it to make it fit, but then you'll lose resolution and such. So there's one question on the final exam dealing with ribbon modification. And it's really just seeing, do you understand the IDs, kind of what the label does, what the ID does. And so you're going to look at an existing ribbon. I'll ask you some questions about it. And you'll choose the answer. Anything else? All right. If you ask me to connect to you on LinkedIn, I'll be happy to connect to you on LinkedIn if I see the request. Truth is, they go off into some other folder. I check it every once in a while. But I'd be glad to connect to you. And henceforth and forever, wherever you go, you ever need help with VBA, I don't want to feel like I'm the first person you turn to. But after you've spent some time trying to figure it out on your own and you can't figure it out, send me an email, give me a call. Chances are, whatever you're asking me to help you with will be more interesting than what I'm otherwise working on. And I'll probably just drop what I'm doing and say, well, it's an interesting question. Let's see what we can do. And the one final thing is, at some point, you're going to do something great with VBA. You're going to go to your job or your internship. You're going to do something really impress people. I want to hear about that. So drop me an email and say, Professor Allen, I just really impressed my supervisor. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a full-time offer because of what I just did. Thanks. And I just love to hear that. All right. Thanks for coming. Class dismissed. Oh, you're too kind. Thank you very much. Oh, if you're interested in being a TA for me, I'd like to hear from you, especially if you have more than a year left to go here at BYU.
Question for you on the homework that's due tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got everything right except there's an element in the page that sometimes appears depending on the result. It's called like street 2.
Yeah.
Something. I was wondering, how do I make it so it runs certain code if street 2 exists and it doesn't run if street 2
How are you looking through the document? Are you looking through?
I'm literally like, I found a very simple way where it's literally just saying
Are you looking at the XML?
IDs. I'm looking at the IDs.
Oh, just going after the IDs?
Yeah.
Well,
Because there's an ID for street 2.
If that's the way you're doing it, then let's see. Are you using Internet Explorer or are you using
Internet Explorer?
So in the Internet Explorer tools, there's something. Well, simplest way, just use an error trap.
Oh, okay.
Try to refer to it, and if it fails, you go, great, it's not there.
Error trap, meaning like
on error, resume
then
next,
resume, and then it just goes.
and then look
Do I
and
have to
see.
say like go to next and then put next somewhere, or?
No, you just say on error, resume next, and that would just say if there's an error, just keep moving.
Oh, got it.
And then you
so
check,
it'll just skip that line.
and then check to see if there is an error, and then you can behave accordingly.
All right, I'll do that. Okay, thanks.
All right. Good. Yeah. Let me know when you do something. When you do something that impresses your folks, let me know. Great. Thanks so much. Oh, I need to share. Stop share. Close. And